Mushroom, esse é outro.
No. The whole thing was wrong. The bags, I think they were from our kitchen, you could probably check that. We never go into the cellar. It's just a place we put things we don't need. Dad used to grow mushrooms there. The bags were taped up. I think it was parcel tape, but I think it was ours.
Tá, eu tô muito confusa com esse body aí que ela fica falando.
The bruise. I have a really fast metabolism, so stuff like that just comes and goes.
Ah,
I don't know if there's much more that I can tell you that I haven't already told the other policemen.
é porque o Simon bateu nela, né? Tá. Ele bateu na que estava usando a peruca. Que era a Hannah. Então essa é a Hannah?
I don't know if there's much more that I can.
É, faz sentido. Ela é impaciente.
His body didn't look real. And his throat. It looked like his throat had been cut.
Tá, ela tá falando do Simon, né?
And I didn't see his glasses. He has these thick glasses. He doesn't always wear.
Tá.
Really? Here's the rest.
Epa! O resto não. Não peguei o começo.
Can you imagine? I tried to get pregnant too, but it didn't happen.
Ah, elas tentaram ficar grávidas junto?
Boys, men. My body refused.
Ixi.
I think my period stopped because hers had. I was pretty ill. I mean, how could we stay the same now? Felt like Hannah had really fucked things up. Set us down separate paths. We had become different.
Entendi. A gravidez atrapalhou. Então ela ficou grávida antes. Mais jovem, talvez. Adolescente.
I got pregnant. Both our parents had a big powwow. We weren't even in the room. And they decided we should get married.
Não, mas acho que isso daqui é outra história. O Simon não sabia que ela tava grávida? Ele descobriu depois?
It's Rapunzel. The story starts when she's born. Mother Gothel, a witch, takes Rapunzel from her parents and keeps her locked up in this tower. Rapunzel gets pregnant by the prince. Mother Gothel is furious, so she cuts off her hair and throws it. Actually, her hair's already short here, so that's already happened. So she throws her into the wilderness, and Rapunzel is reunited with the prince, who's blind. But she kills him with her tears, and so it's a happy ending. Is that too much?
Rapunzel Story ganhou um achievement. É um final feliz. Rapunzel, vamos ver. Ah, bastante coisa com Rapunzel.
Sorry. The picture, the way it's drawn, just reminded me of the books we used to read as children. I read those fairy tales over and over, and they were so real to me. Rapunzel was my favourite. My brain is just full of it. How many of these in colour?
Por que ela tá vendo a imagem da Rapunzel?
Did I pass? Sorry,
Ah,
let's
eles fizeram
start
o
with all that
teste.
Rapunzel stuff. Do you need me to do that card again?
Estão fazendo o teste psicológico lá, aqueles testes. Eles fazem também, o teste de. Como que é o nome? Workshop, alguma coisa assim, né? Que pra ver psicológico, né? Pra ver a mente da pessoa, né? O que ela enxerga, né?
Could the hairs have come from somewhere else? I mean, could they... We have a lot of dolls in the attic.
Essa é a Hannah, certeza.
Long blonde hair. Could they have come from there?
Ah. Loiro, mas elas não são loiras? Será que é a peruca?
We were obsessed with fairy tales.
Ah, percebe-se.
Not just the pretty ones, but the traditional ones. They were dark and real, bizarre and violent.
Eles são mesmo.
We had this huge old book that I think Mum must have bought from a library sale. The illustrations had thin tracing paper over them to protect them. They were in colour, shiny plates. At the front of the book was an index of illustrations. We read that more than the actual stories. We'd read aloud the captions and flip between the pictures. There was something intimate about peeling back the tracing paper, undressing the pictures. Rapunzel's hair is cut. The eagle plucks out his heart. The princess pricks her finger.
Deixa eu só pesquisar. Fé, não. Ela fala de fé. Não, só fala uma vez só. É que é o do achievement. Tá. Vamos ver. A discussão deles, né?
No. I think he spoke to Helen.
Ellen.
He said he was upset about her argument, but I'm not sure what else he said. He likes Helen. He likes blondes.
Ah, ele gosta de loiras. Ué. Mas ele casou com uma morena.
He's married couple stuff. A stupid argument. Nothing specific. No one knows how to push your buttons better than those you're close to.
Sim, isso é verdade.
No. I mean, yes, we have arguments, but he never runs off. He always comes back. We make up. It's always that way. Yes. He left after the argument. It was about 8 o'clock.
Às 8 que ele saiu.
Yes.
Deixa eu colocar aqui.
8 o'clock.
Tá. Opa, acho que escrevi o nome dela errado. Quem que é Ellen? Blondes. Tá estranho, curioso. Eita, quantos S? Os óculos dele, né?
No, he doesn't have any tattoos. He has a scar down here near his stomach, past his hip. Cut himself with some glass. That was before, a long time ago. He looks just like the photo. He's not got his glasses on here though. He takes them off for the camera. But he needs them to see properly, you know. He has to read a newspaper or a menu in a restaurant. Not books so much, or watching TV. He likes TV.
Ok.
But on his clothes, that would make sense. He made it by hand. I mean, he brushes the silver onto the glass. It's not how they make mirrors these days. I mean, he made the mirror and he gave it to me.
Acho que essa arma do crime foi usada. Deixa eu só ver se dá pra pesquisar. O horário, 8. Deixa eu pôr aqui, 8. Dá pra pesquisar o horário.
No. I lost the baby. I had a miscarriage at 8 months. We carried on living at Simon's parents until, well, it was only a few months after.
Ah, mas o filho era do Simon ainda assim?
I think when I drove back it was about 8 or something. And I got back to the house about 3.
Tá, isso quando ela saiu, né? Ele saiu às 8, ela também... When I drove back...
8. The house about 3.
Quando eu voltei era 8 ou alguma coisa. Quando eu voltei pra casa era 3. Ué, quando ela voltou 2 vezes? Confuso. É, ele saiu às 8, né?
When I was 8, Mother died. She slipped down the stairs. It was an accident.
Nossa.
I read a diary at that point and I knew she wasn't my real mother.
Ah, tá.
So I burned the diary that day and I left. Walked out and across the street.
Ah, tá. Tá, acho que eu entendi o que aconteceu. A Eve foi dada como morta, né, quando ela nasceu. E a Florence, que era parteira, né? Acho que ela era parteira, né? Ela deve ter pego a Eve pra ela. Porque era ela que tinha um diário. E aí ela menciona que a mãe dela tinha um diário, né? Então eu acho que a Florence deve ter raptado a Eve, né? Deve ter pego ela e tratado ela como filha dela. Eu acho que é isso que aconteceu. E aí ela morreu. Todo mundo morre nessa história, né? Ela tropeçou, caiu da escada, morreu. E acho que é isso que aconteceu. E aí a Eve voltou pra casa original dela. Deixa eu só ver se eu pesquisei Mirror. Eu não lembro se eu pesquisei. Ah, não, tem mais coisa do Mirror. Vamos ver.
The mirror. I can't remember. I put it somewhere safe. Upstairs, I think. I haven't looked at it since. Silverleaf? No. He normally silvers them properly. This mirror, it's supposed to look antique. The reflection isn't as good. It's the perfect mirror for someone who doesn't like to look at their own reflection.
Interessante, né? Eu só não entendi direito essa questão do bebê. Porque parece que teve 2 gravidezes. Teve 2 gravidez. Isso eu achei estranho.
We spent the wedding night in a hotel in Brighton. It would have been too much to do more. We were saving for the baby. It was wonderful to be in a hotel, away from home, just alone together. Since then, we've always tried to get away for our holiday. We couldn't afford our own place. Simon dropped out of school, went full-time at the Glaziers. That was Eric's generosity. We moved in with his mum and dad. They had a spare room for us and the baby, if it came. It was a nice change, time to myself, living there for those months, full of hope.
Mas aí ela perdeu esse bebê.
I lost him.
Ela perdeu esse bebê.
Yes. It was a shock to him. I mean, we never thought it was possible. I don't know what I hadn't decided whether to keep the baby. I wasn't really ready to talk to him about it.
Será que ele engravidou a Eve, que achava que ela não conseguia ter filho?
It was after dinner. I'd spoken to Simon's parents on the phone. I looked up for an early night and I suddenly had this thought. I think it was something his mum had said. She'd been speaking about old stuff, sad stuff.
Quando a gente vivia lá. Tá, então essa daqui ela tá falando do bebê da Hannah. Que ela perdeu. Que a Hannah perdeu. Eu tô achando que o que aconteceu, a Eve, ela não conseguia engravidar. Porque a Hannah ficou grávida antes, e aí as irmãs gêmeas ficaram diferentes, né? Porque a Eve não conseguia engravidar, ela tentava, só que ela não conseguia ficar grávida igual a irmã. Então elas tinham essa diferença. Aí a Hannah perdeu o filho, mas tá parecendo, do jeito que tá falando, tá parecendo que a Eve daí finalmente engravidou. Porque eu acho que, pelo visto, as duas meio que ficavam com o Simon. Pelo menos é o que dá pra entender, do jeito que ele foi morto. Só que eu acho que ele não sabia que elas eram irmãs. Porque eu acho que uma delas usava uma peruca. Vamos ver.
A wig? You mean... What type of wig?
Ficou nervosa por quê?
I've never worn a wig. What kind of wig?
Essa é a Hannah, certeza.
This other person doesn't exist. I don't know what the blonde wig is, but it could be anything. Have you looked at the cat flap?
Cat flap. O que é cat flap? Deixa eu pesquisar aqui.
No. The parents decided there would be a wedding. And after the wedding, Hannah moved in with his parents. There was no way I could follow. So we were separated again. I stayed in the attic. It was hard.
Essa Eve, coitada, mano.
I suddenly didn't exist. I would sneak out, but in case anyone recognized me, I started wearing a wig.
Exatamente isso.
Hannah and I would meet up in the park.
Exatamente isso.
Trying to get pregnant.
Eu acho que é exatamente isso.
But I couldn't. I couldn't do it with anyone we knew, so it was sex with strangers. Drunk guys I'd met in clubs, parks and alleyways. I was 17. It felt like I was being punished. But it was Hannah who had betrayed us. I had to stop when one of the guys gave me an STD. When we met up, it was disturbing. For the first time, my reflection, she didn't look like me. She was fatter, flushed. If anything, I was getting skinnier. I found it hard to look sometimes. We talked about what to do. Was it time to become our own people? That seemed like the right thing to do, but neither of us wanted it. We agreed that her and Simon would get their own place as soon as possible, and then I could move in. That was the plan.
A Eve vive sempre como uma sombra. Ela já foi dada como morta, né? Coitada. Já vivia uma vida de mentiras, né?
This was about 9. I went round and she was waiting for me. She was furious and so angry, the kind of anger you can only have towards yourself. We screamed at each other, argued, cried, we fought. I hit her back, left a bruise.
A Hannah que tá com
my
a soco.
conforming, she tore it off. Eventually, we grew tired of fighting and I left.
Vamos ver a história da Eve, coitada. Morando no sótão.
Yes. I inherited it from my parents, so it made sense to move back. Me and Simon. Felt like going back to old ways before the pregnancy. Reminded me of being a girl, the dollhouse in the attic, old things. We didn't sleep in my parents' bedroom for a long time. We decorated it as soon as we moved in, but it was another year before we started sleeping there.
Tá, quando que eles foram? Pra voltar.
Before the pregnancy.
Tá, acho que eles se separaram, né, em algum momento.
Yes. I read a lot as a child and watched lots of TV. Then the doll's house we still have in the attic. It's kind of a fairy castle. We used to play up there and make up our own stories. I'm not sure where the dollhouse came from. I don't know if it was given to them or they inherited it. I mean, they wouldn't have had the money to buy it. It was so huge. It must have been taken up to the attic in parts and then reassembled up there. It's a beautiful thing. Wallpaper to scale, little furniture, the lights work, mirrors, beds, big duvets and pillows. We spent hours and hours playing in it, invented all these characters and families who lived there. We wrote paperwork for them all, passports, diaries, and gave them all really elaborate stories. Once, a moth got trapped in there. We'd left a light on. It was making the most horrendous noise. We tried to kill it, but it was tough. We ended up crushing it under a copy of the Arabian Nights.
Darky. Vamos ver. Aqui pegando toda a história da Eve, né?
No, he doesn't keep a diary. That's my thing. I've kept one, well, as long as I can remember, since I was a girl. Helps make sense of my day.
Ah. Tá, entendi. Entendi. Então, eu acho que era assim que elas ficavam trocando de lugar uma com a outra. E elas mantinham a mesma história porque elas escreviam um diário. Então, provavelmente, quando elas trocavam de lugar, a outra lia o diário, sabia o que aconteceu no dia anterior. Aí, beleza, daí ela escrevia no diário, trocava de novo. E daí a outra também saberia o que aconteceu no dia, né? Eu acho que era isso.
Florence was a warm, kind person.
Essa é a mulher que roubou ela, tenho certeza.
But she was broken, I guess. When I found her diary, I also found a biscuit tin with other stuff in it. Older papers, letters, that kind of thing. Her story wasn't there. I never really spoke to her about it. I was far too young to really understand, I guess. I just put it together later, once I was older. She had loved children, planned to have a large family, but her husband died in the war.
Nossa, todo mundo morreu nessa história.
Her family married for life. She never felt like she could marry again. Isn't that strange? She was a widow from her 20s.
Isso é bem cedo, né?
But, I mean, I guess it was different then. You know, you married for life and she felt she could never marry again. I guess it was harder, a war widow. One of the dead. I don't know, maybe there was more to it than that. I don't really know. It just became our way of life. We would swap places and take it in turns to do things. And we were very careful. Whoever had been out that day would come back and write a detailed diary so
é
that
isso
we're on
aí.
the same page. We had a list of rules that said what we could and couldn't do in any given situation. It was exhaustive. We lived a second life through those rules. Rules for things that could only ever happen inside our imaginations. We would consider all the permutations of future events and agree rules to walk our way through them. Florence took me home with her. Mother hadn't been expecting twins and had a healthy baby. I guess she was just happy for Florence to clean up. Take away the evidence that this was anything but a happy occasion.
Yep.
Florence raised me in her home. I never left it. She kept me out of sight. It wasn't odd for people to see a midwife with a baby, carrying in supplies, washing nappies, that sort of thing. I never knew any different. I grew up looking out of my window and seeing her.
Elas moravam uma do lado da outra, será?
I thought it was like a reflection in the mirror. She was me.
Poxa, nem pra morar um pouquinho mais longe, né? Pra manter a história por mais tempo, né?
No. It was just me and her. Eve was the name they were going to call their first child. They talked about it and were going to try when he came back. Florence's family had a history of firstborn girls, so they were convinced it was going to be a girl. It's hard to know if this is all true. These are stories I remember, that I read when I was a child. Maybe I misread, maybe I misunderstood. Sometimes it's hard to remember what happened last week.
Muito bom. Muito interessante, né?
Twins? Really? Are you really asking me that question?
Sim, senhora. Estão fazendo essa pergunta mesmo.
Are you out of your mind? Twins? There were always princes and princesses. They were the special people, more important than the other characters in their stories. We knew we were like that. Twins. Magical. We were the princesses. We had a poster of Princess Diana from the newspaper up in our attic. Had a pride of place. And underneath we used to put all our special things. When her engagement was announced, we were obsessed with everything she did. And later, when her life went so bad, we felt for her. Her divorce last year just kind of drew a line under things.
Só pra saber se tem mais alguma coisa. Ah, tem.
Yeah, we were 17. It was a nice wedding, people said. Simon looked very handsome in the photos. His parents paid for everything, but he's an only child, so it was important to them. It was what they called a shotgun wedding, but if you looked at the photos, you couldn't tell.
Essa é a Eve, né?
The dress was beautiful. It looked like Princess Diana's. The train wasn't quite as long, though. There's a great photo of the bridesmaid helping to carry it out of the car.
Interessante. Como que se escreve? 1984? Como que se escreve 19? Peraí, deixa eu... 1989... peraí, eu escrevi erradão. É 1884. Vamos ver. É, tá. Só tem isso aí que ela fala mesmo. Doug and Henley Honor.